Anyone know what this one is?
Is it wheatgrass?
Nope. You did mention it. I think one of you guys did. Sweetgrass. Yep. And the Lakota name for that one is Wachalka. It's also known as I'm not sure how to say that one. Hyracloe odorata. No one knows. This one is Teamsila or prairie turnip. Have you guys heard of that one? A few of you have. Okay, that's the main one that my work has been with these past couple years. And we got one last one. All right, I'll give it to you. It's Wakpe Washtemna, or wild bergamot, or it's also called bee balm. That's the end of our quiz part of it. But so my work is mostly with Teamsila, and that's a perennial drought-resistant prairie plant that has an edible root. So you can see the root there in this slide. Perennial just means that that root persists over time. Like, so the top part of the plant will go away throughout after the growing season, but that root will still be there, and it gets bigger every year. So this one is a pretty mature one. I think just to get like an edible size one is about 2-3 years. So this one is probably more than 5 years, I'd say. They're used for food across the whole plains because it's a really widely distributed plant. It's from like Canada all the way down to like Texas and then east and west some too. And the reason I chose to do a project on this one is because of agricultural land use. So a lot of our grasslands are threatened by changing the land for agriculture because agriculture is what's called a monoculture. So it's not really like allowing any other plants to be there. And then also climate change, which is changing like where certain plants can grow and like the growing season length. And then decreased prevalence of traditional knowledge. So a lot of these plants, we lived with them, so they kind of depend on us to do our like yearly harvests and stuff. So you think that picking them would make them go away, but actually there's an effect, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but certain species of plants actually increase with those harvests if you do them correctly. And then this is just some history. So this is our ancestral territories, and you guys know what Ocheti Shakoi means? It's the 7 council fires. So the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota were known as the Ocheti Shakoi. And I'm not saying that we would have lived on all this area the entire time, but we were a nomadic people, so we would have gone up into Canada and all the way down towards like Oklahoma, but not stayed there year round. And that was part of why we chose like a foraging lifestyle, why the plants are so important. Because we didn't have to farm. We would follow the buffalo, and then the plants would be there also wherever we went. And then that's a big change to the 9 reservations that we have now in South Dakota. And these aren't the only Ocheti Shakoi reservations. There's also some in Minnesota, one in Nebraska. Those go like Standing Rock and Lake Traverse kind of go into North Dakota, and there's also some like Dakota tribes in Canada. So like the foraging lifestyle isn't really sustainable for us anymore, but we do have the land that we do have here. And so getting more into the work that I'm doing, it's called habitat suitability modeling, and it's just finding an optimal site or region for a given phenomenon. So that just means like it could be anything that you can like think of variables that might go into it, and then you can plug those variables in and then see if like what probability there is of that being there or not. So they use it for like picking like sites for housing or like doing like floodplain stuff, but mostly in ecology we use it to find the distribution of a species or just where that species occurs. And then This gets kind of into a lot of the like technical words for it, but basically the process is that we define some variables that are relevant to Team Sheila that we think that they like. Yeah, you have a question? From there, we would find some data sources that tell us about those different variables, and then put it into the software that we're using. And then from there, the data is clipped to the study extent, which my study area is just Cheyenne River Reservation. And then that data is reclassified to select for certain values that I think that will correspond with Team Sheila being there. And then finally, they're all combined to create a suitability, what it's called a suitability surface, but it just shows basically from a low possibility that something will be there to a high possibility that something will be there. And these are the variables that we thought of, just examples of variables that you can use. So we have aspect, which is like which way a slope is facing. And we chose an optimal range that we thought where Team Sheila would grow the best. And then the other ones are slope, land cover, soil pH, and soil type. And then you can add any variables that you want. I went to a talk a couple of weeks ago, and she had like 64 different variables for her project. But I'm just kind of getting started and getting into this stuff. So an example of one of those variables would be this map here. This is the sand layer that I used for the model that I made. So the white areas are where there's less sand, and then the more purple areas are where there's more sand. And then I chose for my optimal range that it would be like within 50 to 70% sand that the Team Sheila would like. And then I have a similar layer for each of those variables. So I have 5 different layers. And I took out the regions that I thought would be most suitable for Team Sheila and then combine them all together. And then this is the final map that we would get. So this yellow area, like the light yellow, is a 0. So that would be saying like there's like little to no possibility of Team Sheila growing there. And then the like dark green areas are a high possibility of Team Sheila growing there. And do you guys notice any like trends in it? You would say
Closer to the water.
close to the water. Yep, and that's actually not because it likes the water, but it's because of those river breaks, like the cliffs basically. And I selected for slopes, so that's why it's a lot along these different bodies of water. And then this like area in the middle with little to no possibility of Team Sheila being there is a lot of the development on Cheyenne River. So yeah, that's what I have so far for the model. And my next steps are to what they call ground truth it. So I'm going to do a lot of collection of data this summer and see if what I got with the model corresponds to what's actually happening, like, out there on the ground. And then changing the model to reflect that. So like I was saying, the areas in green we're saying, or like more by the rivers and stuff, but it doesn't necessarily like the water. It's a really drought resistant plant. So it can handle like the full sun and like well drained soils and stuff. So I would change things like that. So maybe instead of selecting for like high slopes, I would select for like the position on the slope, which is what I found to be more true. Is like if it's on the upper third of the slope is usually where it is. And then also community feedback, working with like local organizations to get that data and then like see what they think and basically can make it better in a group. And that's pretty much all that I have for you guys. Do you guys have any questions? I don't know how long I'm supposed to go. Half an hour?
Yeah, but we have to leave a little bit early. How
Okay.
would you use this model in overall? Why would you do this?
So I want to see how the Team Sheila populations are doing. And here specifically on Cheyenne River, I think that they're doing pretty good because we have a lot of like high quality prairie left. Team Sheila doesn't like the ground to be tilled up or like things like heavy grazing. So of course it's gonna decrease with the agriculture, but we still have a lot of really good prairie here. And I when I first started, we did like 3 different reservations, and then you could see Cheyenne River, Pine Ridge, and Yankton Reservation. And then Cheyenne River and Pine Ridge are on the west side of the state, and you can see they had a lot of Teamsula, like a lot of possibility of Teamsula. And then Yankton is on the east side of the state, which is a lot more agriculture. Um, and it had a lot less. It was really concentrated, like right across the Missouri River. So, just kind of seeing how populations are doing in different places, and it would be better, I guess, if I had those other maps to show you guys, like the difference, because Yankton is like really, really different than like these ones West River.
Was this a measure of the quality
Mm, it's well, Timsula is like an indicator species for high quality prairie, so it means that we have like good grassland still. But I don't know specifically about pasture. I don't really have like an agriculture background. But yeah, you guys have any other questions?
How long has it taken you to do this?
Um, just the modeling part, or just the modeling part alone didn't take very long actually. It just took me a couple of days, but it's like the gathering knowledge and getting input and like doing like a lot of different I don't know, there's like a lot of paperwork that I had to do for like collecting data and stuff like that. It's kind of like an ongoing process, but the actual modeling itself doesn't take very long. And I'm gonna look into like other methods that I could do for it too, because this is just kind of like the most simple method that you could do. But I've learned a lot more since I started. So. Well, I have some cards with like different traditional plants on it. If you guys would want to like look at those, or I don't know. This didn't take as long as I thought it would.
So
Yeah.
do like cattle eat a lot of this plant then? And that's why it's not growing much in like agricultural use prairie?
No, I don't think that they eat it very much. It's not very good. Like I don't know what they call it, like forage quality for them or something. But it just doesn't like the plant itself just doesn't like that disturbance. Yeah.
How did you choose?
Specifically, it's like one of the most recognizable traditional plants. A lot of people talk about it. It was like a big basis for our diet, like back in the day. Like they used to have, well, June is called, in some places it's called Timsila it Kaktawi, which is the moon when Timsila is ripe. And, you know, like the months are based on like what's happening out in the world, like important events that's going on in the natural world. So that shows that it was pretty important to us. And then also it's used in like storytelling, and they had like specialized sticks that they would use to dig it up. Um, and it's just a really common plant like all across the plains. Yeah.
How do you think Timslow is dry?
How do I think that it does?
How do you dig it?
Oh, dig it? I'm not sure. I guess I could have included that in here too, like the harvesting stuff. But yeah, I'm not sure if you would be able to when it's super dry. But I know that it's like really drought resistant. You could just like leave it there for next year. It'll still be there. Um, a lot of people eat it raw. Or have you guys ever seen like the Teamsula braids before? Braids of Teamsula? No. Um, yeah. So people will dry it, and they can like not when it's dry, but like before it's dried, you can like cut it up and put it into soups, like similar how you would use potatoes. Or you can dry it and then you can grind it into a flour, and I know they can make like bread out of it. Yeah. I haven't tried that myself yet. I've had it in soup. It's pretty good. You guys have any questions on the plants at all you're looking at? Do any of you guys have interest in plants, really? Not really? Also?
What would you say is the best like agricultural?
I'm still kind of figuring out species that like work well with it right now. That's something I was actually looking into like last week, like things that will grow in the same places as it. But yeah, I don't know a lot about it yet.
Would it be like more
Yeah.
like
Um, I don't know. It just kind of.
yeah, like like millet or like
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's like actually like a conflict with the other plants that it has. It's just that whenever the ground is tilled up, it doesn't do very well after that. And then, like I said, it takes a few years to mature. So even when it does come back, it takes a while before it's like harvestable again, like usable for us. So are you guys interested in like going into science at all? Or like STEM? Not really. You are? Yeah. What school are you guys from? Timberlake? Oh, I see. Okay. Hmm? Oh, okay.
Why do you guys think that this Timsla is important to you?
it's an indicator for good ground quality.
Yeah, right, so it's a good indicator. What else? Why is it important?
I guess one thing that I didn't bring up is like food sovereignty. So like, you know how a lot of the food that we get here is like shipped in to the grocery stores. It'd be a good opportunity if we could like, because people have grown this before. It's not like very like commercially like valuable, but you can grow it in like your own garden, you know, and it takes a couple of years. You'd have to wait a couple of years, but then you'd have your own food that you could grow. Um, and then I know a lot of people are interested in food sovereignty around here right now. Like, and what that means is just having our own food systems here. So like locally grown food for the people. So we don't have to like outsource that to like other places. Yeah.
Important to know that really everything that we eat, everything that we have in our stores is built on the shoulders of culture and this kind of history. And so this was here a long, long time. So it's really important for us to understand it so that we create our own food sovereignty here.
Mm.
Really important.
Thank you.